Okay, here we go. So, I wanted to talk a little bit about like trials
Oh,
and arthritis
okay.
for a bit. Kind of get the history on it. So, when were you first diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis?
Well, it was 10 years before I was really diagnosed.
Really?
But yeah, I woke up one morning when I was, well, you were like 6 months old, so 74. So yeah. And normally I would just jump out of bed and do my thing. But my feet felt like clubs and I couldn't walk. It hurt really bad. And Dad just told me to go back into bed. And so I went to bed and I woke up later and they still hurt. But as the day wore on, they felt better. And I went through that for a really long time where
Really?
my hands would hurt. And then the more I use them,
Was it like the joints
yeah.
of your hands and your feet?
Yeah, my feet felt like almost, like clubs. I could barely walk on them, and
Really? So it hurt to walk?
Yeah, and they didn't work right,
And it just, like one morning you just woke up like that?
Yeah.
Wow.
And I have a feeling I might have had some symptoms, but I was probably clueless. I was wearing those wooden Dr. Scholl shoes. I loved them. And I thought maybe that had caused it, but I stopped wearing them and it didn't help. So then I started taking aspirin, and that helped. So for 10 years, Dr. Rexinger, they never tested me for the right thing. I would go in, they'd give me blood test, and they would say, your tests look fine. But there was an arthritis test or inflammation test, and he would say my inflammation was high, but everybody kept saying, you're so young. Look how healthy you are. There's no way. I went to several doctors that told me that. Of course, when you're 21 or 23, you look healthy. But, so...
Well, it's pretty rare, though, right, to get it at that age?
Not really. They say it's more of a young people's disease than...
I think we think of it as an older person's disease, but it's not. It's
not really, although I thought I was reading more stuff on it. It seemed like there were a lot of younger people that got it. But when we were going to Dr. Seaford, and he had a doctor that was more of a naturalist, and he gave me the right tests, and they came back positive. And so it was pretty much 10 years. And then...
So during those 10 years, your symptoms were, sore feet and sore hands, it hurt to walk.
Sore back.
And was it pretty continual, like every day?
Yeah. But the more I would do, then it would kind of go away. And I really did start taking a lot of, at the time, they didn't have like Aleve or Advil and all those, but I took a lot of aspirin, 8 hours strength, and that helped a lot. And I took a lot of that, which probably ruined my stomach. But anyway, that did help. But I just had you and Christy, and so I didn't have you guys were getting older, and I didn't have to run around a lot. And but sometimes I would overdo. Like once when you guys all went fishing with Dad, Susie came and spent the night with me. This is when we lived in Irvine. And we went shopping all day long, and I could just feel that I was overdoing, and I really didn't have anything except aspirin. So I was in bed for 3 days. I couldn't move.
Really?
Yeah, by the time Dad and you guys got home, I think you spent the night, a little better, but I had taken a lot of aspirin. And but I would,
So how would you describe what that felt like? I mean, I'm trying to, was it stiffness of joint where it felt like you couldn't move, or what?
yeah, and
Did it hurt
yeah,
when you laid in bed?
yeah. Well, no, I would probably end up going there, but I would get stiff, and I just didn't feel good. I can't explain it.
So it didn't hurt necessarily unless you got up and moved around.
Well, yeah,
Okay.
that made it worse.
Yeah.
But when I would overdo to the point of having to go to bed, I had a fever and, everything along with that, the pain, and it took a long time for that to go away.
Mm-hmm.
And that was before I was ever on prednisone or anything like that.
This was in the aspirin days.
The aspirin,
10 years.
yeah. The aspirin helped a lot. I mean, I took it every day, every 8 hours, and it kept it under control, that I could do things. And but if I overdid, then it was, fever and
Yeah.
everything hurt. So
And then you had seen doctors, but none of them.
they didn't really have
Diagnosed
anything
it.
that good. They had something called can't remember the name, but it was an arthritis medicine. And I remember this one time. This is when we lived in Irvine, so I'd had it at least 10 years, and it was something I took. Anyway, it made me faint. So I got on the couch. My mom and Margene, that's when Margene and Charlie and the kids had just got back from Saudi Arabia. And they came over and made us chicken soup and all sorts of good stuff. And I just had to stay down until I felt better. So I didn't do well on the medicine.
Mm-hmm.
And then one of the can't remember if I told this one yet or not, but one of the things that happened was when we lived in Irvine, and we were just getting tired of not having any answers.
Mm-hmm.
We didn't have any insurance either. But Dad took me to a renowned rheumatologist in Fullerton, and we had to pay cash because we didn't have any insurance. And but when I walked in, my mom took me with Sarah, and Sarah was probably 2 or 3, and the last thing I said to my mom was, "Do not give her any Skittles. She'll be all over the place." My mom didn't believe me. Anyway, so I went in and saw him. When I walked into his office, I noticed everybody was in a wheelchair or looked really bad, and I thought, oh boy. So anyway, they wanted to give me the gold shots. That was kind of a thing going on, but my aunt had that, and they gave her too much, and it made it worse for her. So I was kind of leery on that. But anyway, he was I didn't like him. He was just pretty much told me what I was going to do. I was going to take this shot. So I went in the dressing room to get dressed while he went to get the shot. And you know how when you feel like you're being forced into something that well, I started crying so hard. And but it was kind of a different, my body felt really sad, and I don't know why. But anyway, I had a really hard time. It was like I was weeping, and so I felt like I shouldn't do it, but I was afraid to tell him no, because he was already in the room with the shot, But I just went out and said, I'm not taking that shot till I think more about it. And I'm crying again. And AJ was, he was, I got pregnant with AJ 6 months later. So I really felt like that was You know, I wasn't supposed to take that shot. I never did take the gold.
And so did they later determine, like, because I know they don't do that now, like they determine that gold injections aren't good for that, or?
I don't think you can get pregnant. I mean, if you have gold shots, I think there was some.
I think they still. I'm not sure they don't do gold infusions.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I'm not sure.
So that's still a treatment.
I checked a few years ago, and I think they're still doing it.
Yeah, there was something to do with that. So I probably wouldn't have been able to have aging. And so we went out of there spending like $300 and something, and but no different change. They didn't, which was fine because I really couldn't be on anything too heavy if I was going to have another baby. I didn't know at the time that I was, but so I just kept on the aspirin. And
so in that 10-year period of time before you were diagnosed, like, did you know something was wrong? Like,
oh, yeah.
Where did you tell yourself, like, it's not normal that I feel this way all the time, or what?
Well, and my aunt had rheumatoid arthritis.
Okay.
My dad's sister, and she got it in her 40s, but we would go visit her, and she had the big things on her arms, and she had to finally go to a wheelchair, and I just felt like it ran in the family. I must have that, you know? I didn't know what else it could be. Everything I read directed me towards rheumatoid arthritis. So, because my fingers would get swollen and my ankles, but I was still young, so it didn't look that bad. I didn't get too bad.
And so, what did you say it was Dr. Seifert that first diagnosed you?
His friend.
Okay.
He had a doctor who was, kind of a neutral, but he could run the tests.
Yeah.
So he ran the correct tests.
And you were probably like, 33, 32 or somewhere in your early 30s?
We lived in Irvine.
I think she was 27 or so.
When she got diagnosed?
Yeah.
Okay.
What was it?
Because I think I was 28 when we found out, when we finally got it diagnosed. It took about, she was noticing symptoms when she was 21, and she had a remission when she was pregnant with you and started noticing them again.
Yeah.
And we went to all kinds of different doctors. One doctor even said that she, was psychosomatic, couldn't find anything wrong with her. That's when I first learned how to fire doctors. And I told that guy, this is the most grounded person I've ever met. Yeah, this is not in her head.
Yeah.
And so Dr. Seifert's friend is the one.
His doctor, yeah.
Because I thought it was somebody in Fullerton.
No, that doctor was the one that tried to give me the gold shots.
Oh yeah, I fired that guy too.
Yeah.
That guy, she was afraid to take gold because she had thought it killed her aunt. And
but then that was the thing with where I felt like I shouldn't too, and that was kind of different.
Yeah, but you were scared to death of it.
Yeah.
I mean, you were afraid. That's the only thing I've ever. That in airplanes is the only thing I've ever seen her afraid of. She thought that the gold infusions killed her aunt.
Well, that's what everybody said.
Which aunt?
Aunt Norma.
Norma, okay.
Yeah, and she died of rheumatoid arthritis or something.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She only had it 20 years, but she was older when she got it.
So, when you got the diagnosis, like, did it do anything? Did it help to at least know what it was, or did it make it worse knowing what it was?
No, I already felt like I knew, but
I kind of already knew, right?
It was kind of weird. I remember Dad and I talking when we came home, and I called my mom and Dad and said, "Don't tell anybody." It was like a secret.
Yeah.
I don't want anybody to know. But everybody pretty much already knew, I think, or that there's something wrong, And but we finally just dealt with it.
Well, I fired that doctor in Fullerton who wanted to give her gold, and I talked to my friend Javier, who worked for me, and he of course, he had gone to pre-med school at University of Mexico, and he had all kinds of connections down there. And he knew a doctor down in Mexicali, or knew of a doctor in Mexicali that was a world-renowned orthopedic surgeon and rheumatologist. And so he actually, the first time we went down all the way down there with us. He rode with us.
Yeah.
Made sure we could, if we had any language troubles or anything. And we went down there, and the rheumatologist in Fullerton that she went to that prescribed the gold. Every single person in his waiting room was either using a walker, in a wheelchair, or a cane. There was not a single person in there that didn't need help.
Yeah.
We went to this guy in
Mexicali.
Dr. Luis Carrillo, and there was not one person using a wheelchair. His waiting room was packed.
Really?
People came from all over the world to see him.
Yeah.
And it was packed. And he had a degree from Oxford. He had degrees all over his wall. And the reason he practiced in Mexico because he could do things there and prescribe medicines that were not available in the United States. And we went into his waiting room. It was packed. We had to wait probably 2 hours at least to see him, maybe more. And but there was not one person in there that used a wheelchair, not one person that used a walker, not one person that there was only one person using a cane in that whole waiting room, which was packed. So we knew we were in the right place. Yeah. We got in there, and he said, he was such a nice man. He said, why? He looked at her hands and said, yeah, you've got a lot of damage here. You've got, this is definitely rheumatoid arthritis. Why are you here? I'm the guy with the knife. And she said, well, I don't really want surgery. And he said, yeah, I wouldn't operate on you. We're going to take care of this with medication. And he gave her some medication called Voltaren that probably worked. Would you say we saw him for 5 years?
Huh?
Dr. Carrillo down we went there for about 5 years.
And you'd go down like every 6 months, or
Yeah.
I remember it was somewhat frequent.
Yeah.
Yeah, we even took Javier's son down with us sometimes because he was getting treated for asthma, I think it was.
Yeah.
And
Anyway.
so yeah, we went down there every 6 months, and pretty soon, it was like almost a miracle cure. It gave it complete relief in the beginning. It was,
Well, the next day after I started taking the pills, I felt better.
Really?
But they probably had, he told me they had no steroids in them, but I'm sure they either caused me to produce more, but that's when my face got kind of big. But AJ was already 3, so that's how long until I had AJ. And it kind of went in remission a little bit when I had AJ. And then after he was born, then a little later on it got bad, and that's when we went to see Dr. Kova. Is that his name, Kova?
Korea.
Yeah. And then, so I was on his medication for 5 to 7 years. And then the medicine started not working and making me feel, I would have weird things in my brain going on. And I think it was the steroids, I don't know, but it worked for a very long time. And then I think that's after that is when I went and started on the Emerald. No, I went to my doctor, can't think of his name now, but he made me get off all of that. And I was in bed for a month, I couldn't get out of bed. Well, my body was, withdrawing from steroids or whatever. And I remember Susie and a bunch of people came and stayed with me for a while. But then once I got over that, withdrawal, doctor, he was one of my favorite doctors. He put me on small doses of prednisone. And boy, I didn't want to take it, but he started me on 10 milligrams. And Bill said he could tell the minute, for 2 days I lied and said, yeah, I taken it, but I couldn't do anything.
Yeah.
But the day I took it, man, I was up and moving and really helped.
Wow.
So, and I was on that for a while. And then it was a while later that I started the Umbral and all that, and that helped. But
Was it when did you start with Dr. Wong?
probably around, it was after that one doctor that I liked so much. Can't think of his name. He started working in the hospitals. So then I went to Dr. Wong.
And then he handled it for a while.
He what?
He handled it for a while.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Long time.
So, what are some of like the procedures or surgeries you've had to have as a result of your arthritis? I was trying to think about it the other day, and I
had my knees.
Three knees.
So three knees.
Yeah.
So you had one knee done twice.
Yeah.
And is that because like it was early technology, right?
Yeah, plus they did a short one, a short rod.
Okay.
So they did a longer one on the other ones, and they've lasted.
Knee operation,
Yeah.
knee replacement operations.
Yeah. One's lasted over 20 years.
Yeah.
Left shoulder.
Left shoulder
Left
joint
elbow.
replacement.
Yeah.
Left shoulder replacement. Left elbow. So he's got a new left shoulder, a new left elbow,
Twice.
left wrist.
Right wrist.
What did you have in your
her
wrist?
right wrist.
I fell and broke it.
Yeah. Okay.
I tripped in the bathroom and hit it up against the shower door.
And four
Let's see.
four different neck fusions because
Yeah.
she had a neck fusion. This is another story where Dr. Seifert basically saved her life. This was probably now 25 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And she had already had, I think she had already had one knee replacement when you had your neck done, or
I don't remember.
yeah, I think she had had one or two knee replacements, and the doctor that we went to, the surgeon, just a really great orthopedic surgeon, Dr. Covarrubias, he's Argentine, and she was having trouble with her neck, and so we went to see we always went to Dr. Seifert first,
Yeah.
just because he could direct us and he sent us in the right direction. And he knew enough about rheumatoid arthritis. He said, well, one of the things that rheumatoid arthritis does is attack the ligament. So your first there's an atlas and an axis. So you got your skull, and it's on top of a vertebrae, and the vertebrae below that has a spindle, and basically your head rotates on that spindle, and there's a ligament. Your spinal cord goes down through the second vertebrae and through all of them. There's this bony process called the axis that your head rotates on, and there's a ligament that ties that to the vertebrae so that it doesn't slide back and forth. Your head doesn't slide back and forth and crushes the spinal cord. And I think Dr. Seifert ordered it. Did you take an MRI for that?
Yeah.
Yeah, because he couldn't see anything on the X-ray, but he suspected that he said that rheumatoid arthritis attacks that ligament, and he suspected that. He ordered an MRI and got the results. We went in and he said, "Get to the orthopedic surgeon now."
I didn't.
Oh well, I called him, but he said, "Don't wait. You have to get to this is potentially life-threatening. If you have a fall, you get in an auto accident.
Yeah.
You could be paralyzed for life because you've got your head's unstable and it can move back and forth and crush your spinal cord."
Yeah, I remember seeing that X-ray or that MRI.
Yeah.
And so he just was adamant. He said, "You got to get to the orthopedic surgeon now."
Yeah.
And so that's when we found.
Dr. Kova?
Yeah, and I think that Dr. Wong
Yeah.
He was part of the memorial care back when it was good. And
Well, the weird thing about that condition is I would be fine, and then I could almost feel I felt like my head was falling
Really?
off, yeah,
it
off
was
my neck.
unstable. So
It was weird.
so he goes. We went to see him, and we had seen him already 2 times for at least 2 operations. I think it was he had done 2 knee replacements for her by then, so we were friends basically. But we went in there, and I'll never forget. He said you have to have a neck fusion here, and because. And he said basically your chiropractor's right. You have to have a neck fusion. And he says, I do 5 or 6, 10 knees a day. I do shoulders all day long. I do elbows. I do knuckles and every other joint.
Yeah.
But I haven't done a lot of these operations, and nobody has. And it's dangerous. But you go home and say your prayers, and
Yeah, worked out good.
Yeah, he said, you go home and say your prayers, I'll go home and say mine, and everything will be okay.
So he performed it even.
Yeah.
But that's when I knew, we knew that he
how
was
serious.
the right guy.
Yeah.
Well,
So you had to have it fused again. I know you had complications with the wound.
But that was
no,
like 10 years later.
This was 25 years
Yeah.
ago.
Yeah.
That was the original one.
What was it, 2013, 2014?
I don't remember.
Yeah, and so I think it was 2014, and it started to unravel, and so.
Yeah, in fact, my new doctors, when they saw it, they almost acted like it was prehistoric kind of surgery. He had really,
Well, they actually thought it was pretty good for.
for what they could do back then.
Yeah.
He made it work, and it did work for a long time, but it was starting to definitely unravel. So then I had the whole head thing and neck and.
That's probably that's been the most intense procedure
Right.
you've had, right? I mean, because you broke your hip too recently.
Yeah.
That was pretty serious.
Hip replacement.
Yeah, it's so weird though. I don't remember a lot of that.
Yeah.
I think I was blessed just to.
I was gonna say, what a blessing.
Yeah, it was.
But the neck was by far the most.
Oh yeah.
Critical and tense.
Because then they made the rod too long, and it was sticking out of my head. So then, a year later, I had to go back in, and they had to clean my head out and get rid of all the germs they were worried about.
MRSA.
Yeah, my MRSA, right? But then they had a surgeon, a plastic surgeon. He fixed the back, so it was fine. They fixed the, but that was hard.
There's always a backstory to all of these. Every time, that she has something from the time we were in our 30s till just recently. Every time there's been something that's been life-threatening, there's been a doctor there with a technique that preserved her.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And doctor, from the time we went down to Mexico, and then Dr. Covarrubias, and then all the way through, we have found doctors that had new things. I honestly think that me going to work for Sarah's Regis was led by the Spirit, because Sarah's Regis donated $1 million to UCI for their remodel when they were upgrading their hospital.
Yeah.
And so we got VIP treatment because I was president, and we got all this VIP treatment, and it got to the point where that was at the same point when Dr. Wong could no longer handle her rheumatoid arthritis, and he referred us to a guy at Memorial Care that just I was not going to have that guy be her doctor.
Mm-hmm.
So I asked Jeff Stack, if he knew that, he had connections obviously at UCI, and that's when they had that service called Connect Care with the nurses for all the VIPs that would just run you. They would manage your case for you, and all the doctors there had to. I mean, those nurses rule the roost, and so that's where we found Dr. Jordy Laurie, who basically had these. He had a lot of treatments available that Dr. Wong didn't even know about, and he kept her in good health for a long time. And then when Dr. Covarrubias had retired, and we were using Dr. Covarrubias's Dr. Podolsky, who was his understudy,
Mm-hmm.
but he couldn't do this neck surgery, and when we she needed a surgeon there at UCI. There was an orthopedic spinal surgeon and a neurosurgeon that were basically arguing over her. They had different. Their procedures were about the same, and I was getting calls on my. They were trying to fight with each other and over which one would get to do her. So these guys were calling me all the time, bitching, my procedure's best, my procedure's best. And both of them proposed a complete laminectomy. And that is, how the vertebrae has a fin in the back? So basically the vertebrae have each vertebrae has a fin in the back that goes over the one below,
Mm-hmm.
It's basically it shields the
Spinal cord.
A laminectomy is when they cut the vertebrae in half, and they cut them all in half and throw the top half away, and then they have flat spots supposedly to screw the steel rods for the neck fusion. Both of these guys were going to do that, and they showed me pictures of it. The spinal cord's just laying there open. I mean, I said, well, what do you cover the spinal cord with? And he said, with skin. And so I said, so you guys are going to saw these vertebrae right in half and throw them away. And I said, what are the chances are that she'll get through this? So about 50-50 that she'll die.
Yeah.
And I said, well, this is probably not going to work when you think about it. So they were fighting back and forth. And I get a call from their boss, Dr. He was the head of neurosurgery at UCI. Who was all of he was. They all reported to him, and the nurses who were managing our case had gone to him and said, "Look, this is out of hand. These guys are airing their dirty linen, and calling the patient, me, the patient's husband, on his cell phone and arguing back and forth." So I get a call from him, Dr. Johnny Delashaw. He says, "I understand you're having some issues with my surgeons. Can you come in and chat?" So I went in to talk to him, and he says, "Well, both of these guys are good surgeons." And we had a nice long chat with Mom, and I could tell right away that this guy was a good guy, and he was brand new there. He had just become the head of neurosurgery. He said, you could choose either one of them, or I can do it. Whatever you want to do. You're the customer here, and we're going to do what you say. I said, I want you to do it. And had they either one of those other guys operated on her, or I know she wouldn't have survived, because he had to improvise. When he opened her up, there was not enough bone structure. There would have been if he had sawed those vertebrae in half and thrown them away, there would have been nothing left to screw rods into. And I am sure that either one of these other guys would not have been, nimble enough to improvise like he did. And I'm pretty sure, I'm sure that the Lord put him there at UCI. He was the most, at one time, the most prolific neurosurgeon in the country. Just very renowned. And he was brand new at UCI, and he saved your mom's life. And he only stayed there about another 6 months after that, and went back up to Seattle. So he was there when she needed somebody special. Dr. Lori was there at UCI when she needed somebody special. Dr. Carrillo was there in the beginning when she needed somebody special. Dr. Covarrubias was there when she needed somebody special. Dr. Podolsky was next. He did several operations on her. When she had her second knee replacement, Dr. Covarrubias had been retired, but when she went in for her first operation with Dr. Podolsky, she was getting this was her third knee replacement, and they asked, do you want to have a local or a general anesthetic? And I'd said no, I'd rather not put her out. Let's just have a local. So she was awake during this knee replacement. She tells a story how she heard the doctors talking behind the curtain, and one of the doctors, she heard one of them say, do you think she knows I'm here? And the other one said, I don't know. And he pulled back the curtain. And
there was Dr. Kova.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's reassuring.
That was awesome. I was just
He came out of retirement to assist.
Yeah.
That was pretty amazing. Something else I remember about the when I had my neck done the first time. I don't know if you were there, I can't remember, but Sarah came up, and the night before my surgery, they stretched my neck.
Yeah.
They had to put the
medieval torture device on
Yeah,
you?
but I never really felt in serious pain. I just remember laying there, so I know I was really helped to get through that, because I don't remember any. Sarah talked to me the whole time. We all talked, and you kids came, and I don't remember ever feeling pain. And then the next day I did my surgery, and I told the story about.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then you guys were there, and it was amazing. Really.
So we've talked a lot about this, which has been like physically, obviously, like your hardest, longest trial.
Right.
This arthritis that you've had. We talked about the trials that you guys had when you got married and with Christy.
Right.
So are there other things that you've had to face in your life, like aside from these things, that have been significant, like trials that you've overcome?
Probably. Not sure. Well, I know before Dad joined the church, there were a lot of trials that way, and it was getting harder and harder for me to, handle it all and raise the kids and try to stay, active. But I wasn't doing a very good job. But So when Dad did start seeing the missionaries and join the church, it was kind of a surreal time. It was good.
Mm-hmm.
And then after that, we just pretty well just,
So what is it that gets you through these trials? Like, even today, like
I don't know.
what is it that gets you through today, or got you through that day, or through the surgeries, or
just, I don't know, just doing. And well, I love everybody, my family, so much that I never wanted to give up about anything. And in my 20s and 30s and 40s, I prayed all the time that Heavenly Father would bless me to be able to raise my kids. And I mean, well, look, I have great-grandchildren, which most people my age don't even have.
Mm-hmm.
But just, yeah, I don't know, I just keep moving forward. If I get too sad, then I try to think of something good. I don't know, I think it's just in me.
But you do have those moments where.
Oh, yeah.
But you recognize those, and you've got like tools that you use. Like you said, you think of something positive. What are some of the things you think of? Like, what makes you happy or turns that around for you?
Mainly just, I just start doing something with, for the kids or for Dad, or do something in the house has to do with being a mom, I guess. But it just comes natural.
You think of others, or you do for others, or.
I try.
Yeah.
For my family.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So what are some of the things then that you've learned through your trials?
Wow. Learn through them?
Yeah. What have you learned from them?
That mostly that no matter what or how it seems, we're not alone. And even if it's our husbands, our kids, Heavenly Father, and the Savior, they're always there. We have angels that attend us. And most of the time we're oblivious to that, but doesn't mean we don't know spiritually that they're there. They are. And I really think this is kind of a natural part of me. I think I get it from my dad, where you just keep moving forward and trying not to let it bring you down. I think this being stuck in a chair for a year has been one of the hardest things I've ever gone through, because I really thought I was
saying something.
I didn't think I was going to be here this long.
Yeah.
I thought I was going to go. So that I realized, it's not always that easy. I'm just each day trying to, be positive and think of good things. Well, I had my genealogy, really, that was saved me. Think how many years I started doing that when I was pregnant with Sarah.
Mm-hmm.
But then I got more and more into it as I got older, and I couldn't do a lot, but I could sit at night. Sometimes I'd stay up till 2 a.m. and look for names, and that just took my mind off everything bad. It was so wonderful. So I received a lot of blessings from that. I think that was one of my main things, that and just keep moving forward.
Well, it's interesting. Like, it's even today, it's a choice that you make every day, that you're going to choose to be positive
or negative.
Sometimes we choose.
I have my days.
But I'm sure you do. I'm sure you have your moments.
Yeah.
Numerous moments throughout a day. But overall.
Yeah.
Like you said, this has been the hardest thing. One of the hardest things you've been through this last year. But yet you still choose every day. It's not like you made the choice a year ago and it's been easy since then. It's something that you have to choose every day to still be positive, to still be hopeful, to still think of others.
Well, I was
visualize happy things instead of focusing on this sucks. This is know.
Well, I think
she said it. She said the key earlier. It's her nature.
Yeah. But it's still a choice, though. Like.
Well. It's but.
I can be negative.
It's not a choice. She is literally. She's one of the rare people who has a Christ-like nature that comes to her naturally.
I don't know that I was always that way. I was a bratty sister, and
she's been that way. I mean, that's her nature. It was her dad's nature. You don't. Those people are rare.
Yeah.
So the human nature is not to be Christ-like. Otherwise, there would be no need.
Well, especially when you go through gnarly things, like human nature is typically to go the other way.
Right. And so it's natural for her to be that way. I mean, the first thing she thinks of, no matter what's happening, she's always thinking of somebody else before she thinks of herself. It comes naturally to her.
Well, I mean, I think of times where, just even, or any day, like I know you're hurting and you're not having a good day, the first thing out of your mouth is, "Hey son, how are you?"
Yeah.
Well, I mean it.
I know you do.
But it makes me happy to know you're doing okay and you're happy.
Yeah. But it just just go along with what you're saying. Yeah. She's others focused. She's amazing.
Well, I don't know.
It is. Okay, let's talk a little bit about family history.
Okay.
Let's go to a lighter subject. You're still going to cry, but at least it's a little lighter.
So will you pull my back up a little bit?
So what is it that motivated you to get into family history, or that motivates you about family history?
You know what? It was just a part of me when I was young. For some reason, I always liked history. And then I loved learning about my grandparents when I was younger and seeing their houses. And so it was just kind of in me that way. And then when we lived in San Clemente, I started finding old pictures. Annie would give me some, and Nana. So I started hanging them on the wall, and my mom had a bunch, and they just spoke to me. I can't even.
Sparked something in you seeing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I loved it, and we hadn't even been through the temple then, but so I didn't get the whole thing, but I knew that I had to get names put together, and we didn't do temple names for a while. Because I didn't understand, the whole importance of that. But once I did, when we lived in San Clemente and then Irvine, just to find a name. I used to go to Laguna Niguel, and at the time, there was this federal building way out in the boonies. And when I was a kid, we used to watch this Martian show. And this building looked just like that, and they would.
Yeah, the ziggurat building.
It was scary. Yeah.
I know what you're talking about, yeah.
Yeah, and but I would go out there all by myself. Sometimes Sarah was like 6 weeks old, or maybe a couple months old, and I would take her with me, and there would be nobody out there. And when I'd open the door, I'd be so afraid to go in. But there were people in there. They were doing the whatever you call it. They didn't have anything back there like we do now.
Yeah.
But I remember finding like Annie's mom and dad and the bells. And I remember just raising my arms and just shouting.
When you found one?
I was so excited. Yeah, I found them. They were on census. And I had never found them And so, and then we could copy it. So I would copy all these. I still have them, all the, the video, not videos, but anyway. So it was just, I was thrilled all the time. And then, I've told you about when we went to New York, and in the temple, I just felt everybody shouting for joy because they were getting baptized. I don't know. Maybe it's just something in me, but I love it. And I used to stay up late at night, and it was something I always had energy for and eyes to see, which was a blessing because I can't see very well now.
Yeah.
But AJ helped me get on the other day, and the DNA program is amazing. And I found the Dempseys, and it said there were 150 DNA connections, and I have to check that out. But
it's pretty amazing what technology.
Yeah, they're doing amazing, and it's for the temple work. I mean,
not just DNA, but just like scanning records.
Yeah. Well, and did you see that thing that temple, Salt Lake Temple, had the big time capsule?
Yeah, the time capsule.
And that one of our family's ancestors' names was on the coin?
No, which one? I saw that. Oh,
Hillam.
Okay, yeah.
And Margene explored it, and it's Amanda Hillam's niece or someone. So they're part of our family. But anyway, all that neat stuff.
And just think, when you first started, I mean, it was like you had to have paperwork and
I would bring a notebook every time I went, big.
Yeah.
Especially when I would go down to Laguna Niguel and do the family search. That was a cool building, though, even though it was scary. And now it's so crowded out there. I couldn't find it when I went the last time.
Well, now you don't need to, though.
No.
Everything's available
I know.
online.
That is true. But I love it. But it's always been in me. You can't make someone have Spirit of Elijah. Yeah. It was just there. That was part of my gift, I guess. Thankful for it.
Who are you still looking for? Like what?
Annie's mom and dad. Well, no, I got her dad, but her mom's a Dempsey, and I did find on the DNA there were a bunch of Dempseys. I never could connect her. Her name was Ossie Dempsey, and you'd think that'd be a name that would pop out at you, but there was actually a couple other Ossie Dempseys that weren't related.
So when you go back both sides, that's where one of the roadblocks is Annie's parents.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's not very far back.
Yeah, no, it's not. I mean,
her dad's there. We got the bells all the way back, but the Dempseys I don't only have to her mom.
And then what are some other ones? You mentioned like Matthew Albert's another one I remember.
Let's see.
That you kind of had. That was the end of the Albert line.
Yeah, the bell, and then the Albert line. Let's see. Yeah, we're not very far. Foy Albert, that's Grandpa Bob's dad. I don't know that we have much past him either. I haven't looked in so long. I don't remember the Alberts being very far back at all. And same with some of us on my mom's side. The Smith line is kind of messed up, but we got a lot of family doing that, and it's getting worked.
It's pretty amazing to think. I remember Grandpa always had like floppy disks of PAF or PAF, whatever it's called. Like,
yeah.
And now
they don't even have PAF anymore, do they?
No, I mean.
Yeah. I loved.
You could do everything from your phone and have access to.
Yeah.
The world's digitized records.
I know, it's amazing. I know, I would probably use my phone more if I could see better, but the computer is so big. We've got the faces up pretty big. And I'm hoping to tap into some other family member that maybe have pictures and stuff.
What are some cool experiences you've had as you've done family history?
I told you about the temple, but there was a time when I went to, when I was pregnant with Sarah, I started going to the genealogy classes.
Oh, classes.
And it was Joan George.
Okay.
She was the teacher. I didn't know her very well, but I sure loved her. And I would just go in there and spend the Sunday in there after sacrament. And I remember one day her and I were at the computer, and we can't forget this either. I keep thinking about it. But she was doing Annie's name, which we've already done. But she was working on Annie's, maybe Dutch, her second husband that she loved. And it's either that or her mom and dad. And Joan looked at me and said, she wants this work done really bad. That was a long time ago. So I don't know. I can't remember if I did it or if it's something that hasn't been done yet. But just really good feelings. Like late at night, I would, feel like I was impressed to get a name or something. And, just like you knew you weren't there alone. They were helping you along. Yeah. Especially Bill's family. Nothing had been done. And then, his brother, his cousin Jimmy joined the church, and Annie did, and I really do think that a lot of that had to do with genealogy. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I'll probably think of stuff that I can't think right now.
Okay.
But it kept me moving and doing and wanting to get out of bed, and it really helped me keep going because I was so excited about it.
Well, good. Let's stop there. That was some heavy with some light.
Yeah, it was. Thanks, Dad was there to help.
Yeah, no, that was awesome.